My name is Ellie. I am a tarot reader, a witch, a Wiccan. Labels are weird. I make content on this channel every so often. If you like what you see here, do make sure you subscribe. I also host little rituals every month. Take part in this month's ritual, which you probably will enjoy actually, because it just so happens to be about inner child magic. And I wanted to talk a little bit about what I felt was missing in the witchy community. The emphasis on child energy in witchcraft and manifestation is so lacking because I really believe there's so many different levels to inner child magic that bring us closer to our most spiritual selves. So why is it I believe that your inner child is really potent in magic? First of all, there were so many aspects of my life that weren't moving and that I felt very stuck to, chained to, I suppose, because I didn't have a whole lot of curious energy about myself. I'm not really somebody who is excited naturally. At least I wasn't. I didn't used to be someone who was very excited by new opportunity and adventure and freshness. The spiritual community is so obsessed with the word manifestation and bringing in the new and having fresh opportunities and new doors, and we want this, we want that. We're very like forward thinking. We're like, I'm trying to call this thing in. I really need this thing in my life. Yet not willing to release old energy. We almost expect to manifest in new energy sitting amongst old energy. And as a naturally non-curious person who wasn't intrigued by new doors and new people and new opportunities and the potential of them, I found it really hard to properly manifest and being in flow with the elements, with divine inspiration, with any sparks of like eureka moments. But the problem with that, if you're someone who isn't excited by adventure and newness, all those potential moments that are trying to push themselves into your life just kind of get fallen onto their face, or they get straight up ignored and not noticed and recognized in the first place. You can cast all the spells you like, you can do all of the rituals and practices and read all of the books, but if you don't tap into that part of yourself, which kids can do so naturally, simply moving into the directions that compel you, that give you a fuzzy little feeling in your stomach. If you've ever watched kids in a room, I remember we used to have golden time when I was little, and it was when we get a period of time, usually like an hour, to just do whatever it was that we wanted, and kids would go crazy over golden time because, hey, we can do what we want with pretty much all the tools we could possibly need, because they would bring out all the paints and the colouring stuff and books, and you basically get free reign of whatever you want to do. Plonk all those kids in the centre of the room and they're going to naturally gravitate to the corners of the room that they just feel inside them they're bursting to do. And that's kind of like the attitude we need to have as human beings, as adults, later on in our life, towards work, towards career, towards the house and homes and dreams and manifestations that we have. However, as adults, instead, we stand in the middle of that room, we look at all the options, and we weigh them. We say, is that option better than this one over there? What have I already got in the middle of this room? And we're in the head. We just get stuck, like the feeling, the heart source of desire where we know we want to move somehow floats itself into the logical parts of ourselves, the head, the masculine, and it just runs rings and we end up not doing anything, and we're like 50 years old thinking, when was the last time I took a chance? And we think that failure and it not going a particular way, or it not even meaning anything in the long term, not showing itself for anything like a career or a certificate, is a bad thing. We think, oh, I enjoyed the process, but like, bit of a waste of time, wasn't it? Kids don't care about that kind of stuff. They just want to feel good. From moment to moment, they just want exactly what it is that they want in that moment. They're not going to think about in what that would mean in consequence for tomorrow. This is why we can't keep our eyes off kids for any longer than 10 seconds, because they will do exactly what it is that they want to do. And we know as adults, because we are wiser, we have more experience, what is good and what is healthy for them. So it's good to obviously have that balance of like chaos and control, because we want to take that wise parts of ourselves that come with experience, we can implement that into the other stuff, but we have to have the other stuff in the first place to work with, because otherwise we just end up stuck in our masculine, stuck in our head of like why we shouldn't do them, or like what they would mean, what they would risk, and options. It like loses grip of the magic that is working with a fresh energy. We're not as willing to do that as maybe we think we are. Obviously, we get older and we attach ourselves to past experiences. We've got more to compare to when we become adults. Because as kids, you know, they might learn like, oh, last time I touched that, it was really hot and it burnt my finger. I'm probably not going to do that. They've learnt wisdom. But then as adults, we start attaching things like, oh, last time I fell in love with someone, I got my heart broke and I risked a lot and it was really difficult. So I want to like communicate with this person. I feel really strong about them, but like I'm fear thinking. So you don't really move in the direction of the things that you want anymore, because you have so much fear-based thinking in your life and you've lost that side of your curiosity. And I think tapping into child curiosity and just letting circumstances in your life that come up be intriguing and curious again, rather than full of fear and like some sort of test that's going to like potentially make you unhappy, as if you're gonna know that without actually stepping through the door. Witchcraft practices are associated to the stuff that we already know is prominent in like from books. Think Harry Potter, for example. There's mirror work in Harry Potter from the mirror of, what is it? Irized? Which is desire backwards, by the way. Mind-blowing. If we want to know what it is that we want in life, look in a mirror. That tells you everything you need to know.
It shows us nothing more or less than the deepest and most desperate desires of our hearts.
If you just sit with your reflection for a while, you'll start like picking up on your intuitive voice. Well, time travel is real. We can do that, because when we go back in time to our child self, we are changing the way we perceive our old experiences, so they no longer have a grip on us. So we no longer let them run the boat, run the ship, and make choices for us, because we're going back in time and almost changing the events themselves. The past isn't happening right now. It's only our perception of it that is happening right now. So if we change our perception of it somehow through meditative experiences or very deep shadow work journaling, which is just taking part in journal prompts such as, what part of my childhood did I feel was lacking? Like, what did I really need as a child that I never received? And therefore you picking up on those parts of your life that have really like bled into the rest of your future. Aha, a light bulb comes on. Ooh. You haven't necessarily rewritten the past, but is there really a difference if you're changing the way the past makes you feel? The only part of it that does exist is the emotional part in your head, in your heart. Your body doesn't really know the difference between what's actually happening now and the emotions that you're telling yourself. Our brain can make us like think that an imaginary tiger that's going to eat us is the same thing as an actual tiger standing there about to eat us. So tapping into our child self can really liberate ourselves. Things like that can really help with your sense of ego death. If you're somebody who wants to feel less attached to what their emotions tell them every day, if you've got a lot of mental clutter, being present really helps with that. And ego death really helps with being present, because when we understand like why we are the way we are as adults through dipping into our upbringing and, you know, how our parents were and what our family life was like, we suddenly realize like a lot of what we attach to ourselves is by choice. It's like, you know, our name and our personality types, you know, the fact we wake up early every morning makes us a morning person. What do we know? We've just slapped another label on ourselves down to like a pattern of characteristics that we've kind of done enough over time to the point where we've claimed it as like a part of our personality. Being in touch more so with your child self allows you to play and toy with that a little bit more. So instead of saying, you know, I am a morning person, treating every day as a fresh slate, as a child would, because they have nothing to compare themselves to, because of in their experience, they don't know if they're morning or afternoon or evening. They don't know if they're a insert word here person yet, because they don't have that experience yet. They're more inquisitive and curious and willing to work with new energy and see things with fresh eyes more often without attachment. And here on my bedside table, I actually have a little image of myself as a little bubba. I think I was about 6 or 7 years old here. I mean, this is when the magic does start coming in, really, because having this picture on my bedside table, to sort of keep myself in check in a way, tapping into a more magical aspect of child work now, time traveling in a sense, reminding ourselves of a time in which we were more our authentic self. By the time we're 7 years old, we're basically sponges, and we start becoming a product of our environment over just our pure authentic heart source, which is why kids just say exactly what it is that they want. They move quite naturally to wherever it is that they feel called to and desired to. And by remembering some of those things that were important to us in the past, is really powerful, because it can take us right back to home, right back to where is important in our heart source. And kids are basically like raw, authentic, great big beating hearts. That's all they are. They feel deeply, they express openly, they have desires and wants that they are, you know, a whole lot more brave and bold about, you know, because as adults we start gripping onto the past or using all of our experiences to determine who we show up as that day, when really every single day to a kid is a fresh opportunity, and they explore parts of themselves every single day. And I don't think that should be lost as an adult, because otherwise you start becoming a prisoner to your experiences, to your expectations in the past, like things that you achieved in the past, things that you failed in the past, to help you determine what you should and shouldn't ever do ever again. Yes, it's good to have a masculine side of ourselves that's logical and saying, like, you know, this happened before, and if you don't want it to happen again, then you shouldn't do it at all. You shouldn't like see where that pathway is going to take you, which is true, like, well and good. Like, it might manifest into a failure, quote unquote failure. What even is failure, to be fair? Because once again, kids will just get right back up if they fell flat on their face. They might have a little cry about it, but the real sad thing attached to that is we're the ones telling them, like, not to cry, not to express, or speak about how you feel. Brush it off and get on with it again, though we're the ones who focus a whole lot more intently on what went wrong and when we fell over, because we let it rule the rest of our lives as adults. And I think there's something really empowering about, in a sense, using every single day as a child would, in that we should constantly rediscover and relearn things about us, because it's a Wednesday, you know, and yesterday was Tuesday. And something I really like doing, and something that's been very magical in my life, is answering anyone who asks me something like, are you any good at ice skating? Or do you like horror video games? With something like, I don't know, I haven't tried it yet today. And just like seeing their like faces, I think it's contagious too, particularly if you're not around kids a lot. I think kids are, they bring out the child side of ourselves. Like, how often do we find ourselves like sitting in a tiny chair with a child, colouring something in with them, or like singing along to a song that they're singing along? Like, we match their energy. Their energy is very magnetic. And in hanging out with an adult who sees things with fresh perspective, it's like optimism. That's very contagious. Like, if we're around someone who is excited about their future and is brave with their dreams because they're like, I can do it. Like, it makes you feel good. It rubs off on you in the same way as if you had a housemate that was always negative and always saying the bad things about their day. That would certainly rub off you. Something that used to rule my life was anything new completely giving me fright or flight. Something would come up, like a potential opportunity, like a person would like message me and say like, I've got this thing I want you to come to, and I would start seizing up and comparing myself to like my old self and saying, I've tried something like this before, it freaked me out, and I never gave things the chance. And this isn't saying that child magic abolishes anxiety, but it allows life to prove itself to you again. It allows the universe, God, whatever you believe in, a little bit of space to work its magic. Curiously look, like a child would, inside of a cookie jar. They lift the little lid up and have a little peek to see what's in because it's something different in the kitchen, and they're suddenly like curious. I've never ever considered myself an adrenaline junkie, ever. Like, I've never understood people who live like that, and I'm not saying I'm jumping out of planes and doing anything really outlandish, but I'm definitely becoming a lot more excited and drawn towards feeling uncomfortable, because I never let myself into those positions in the first place. Not being so like long-term thinking and like, what if, I do this and then this happens and then that happens and then I don't end up liking it and then in a year's time I'm still there. It's just treating every day one step at a time, as kids do, building blocks, stepping stones. Photogazing, keeping an image of yourself like in whatever way you want to connect to your younger you, remembering your heart source, like what it is you're here to do and what you were born to achieve. Finding your will, your reason. If you can find a reason, the universe will find a way, for sure. I really want more and more people to understand and like charge their life up with this energy that we all once had inside of ourselves. We just sort of dropped it along the way. The link to that ritual that I'm hosting is down there in the video description, by the way. Stop and redirect if necessary. You don't want to be in autopilot tending to the dreams that you had last year, or maybe not even the dreams you ever had, because they were the dreams of your parents or your teachers. Re-remembering who she was, what she wanted, and what you still want, and therefore remembering your drive. So that's the thing you're calling out to the universe for, and it's up to you to play your part in meeting the universe where it needs you to meet it in order to be there to hold, to receive the manifestation. And that is much easier to do when we're focused in on the reason that we're stepping outside of our comfort zones, because we've got that in the forefront of our mind rather than the anxieties and the fear. Because fear-based thinking is when the fear is like throwing a fog over opportunities and stuff, because we're not actually thinking clearly when we choose to take them or not. We just want to ask ourselves two things when an opportunity comes up, like, will this support my manifestation, and how does my body, the infinite wisdom that your body holds, feel about this opportunity? Because energy never lies. You'll always know instinctively what the best thing is to do, what opportunity you should and shouldn't take, what route you should and shouldn't take, from just listening to your body. Like, if something has a slight glowy vibe around it, if you feel warm around the presence of someone who's offering something to you, if something makes you feel a bit sick, not in nerves, but in a kind of sickness that you feel around people that aren't good people. Funnily enough, a little while back, I was haunted every single day. Well, not every single day, but every single time I read my tarot cards for myself. I was stalked. I call it when you see a card a lot, you're stalked by it. And I kept on seeing the Page of Cups. I interpreted that as like, I need to be more silly, like play more games, like do things for no reason other than enjoying them, which is all well and good, but I feel like I'm not a logical person necessarily. Like, I haven't lost my child wonder and awe, but that card stopped haunting me when I started using child magic. Using child magic is probably one of the best things I've ever done to this date. Not only to smell the roses, to take in the moment for what it is, but to actually like figure out where the hell it is that we're going. Because I feel like everything to do with adulthood is so forward thinking. It's what's next, where am I aiming for, and it's achievements, and it's look at kids in preschool. They're not judging their existence, their importance, their worthiness on what they're capable. They're judging their existence and their life on how many times they laughed that day. Taking part in spiritual practices helps you stay in the moment and just ask yourself, what am I manifesting? And I know manifestation is like a really big thing at the moment and everyone's speaking about it, but I think it's great that finally people are actually like being a bit more selfish and figuring out what's important to them, because otherwise it's very easy as adults to go into this like autopilot system of like, well, I kind of somehow landed myself on this path when I left high school, so I may as well just kind of continue on through. Next minute they're a lot older and living a life that they don't really resonate with, let alone love. Kids aren't judgy, they don't hold hatred in their heart. It's when they get older and more impressionable, things like that start to occur. They are very compassionate little creatures, so when someone's poor, that doesn't mean anything to a child. When someone's like not conventionally beautiful, like they might ask and like look inquisitive, ask the person like, why have you got that, and be like wanting to know, but it's not out of hate, it's just they want to know and learn so much. It's another thing, it's another aspect. Like, I've really not been able to like stop asking people questions and wanting to learn more about things. In school, I wanted to get out of school so quick, and now I want to get back in it. I'm like, oh my God. But yeah, kids have so much compassion, so it's finding that in yourself. Things may have changed since I was younger, down to circumstances and my environment and like what I picked up from friends and family, and like I did what I could in the circumstances that I had, and I thank all of the experiences that I had. But I also need to own the fact that as an adult, it's my responsibility when I look at this little picture to know that I am finishing the painting that she started creating. I'm polishing and varnishing and making it as beautiful as she expected it to be, because that's what she wanted. Child, you had so many different dreams, and you're the direct consequence of those dreams right now. So we want to have a good shot at getting it right. And we do that from walking into the shadowy, darker side of ourselves to help understand them and what they're there trying to do. But then connecting to our why, our mission, what we're here to accomplish, how we separate if we're just feeling anxious about an opportunity because it requires us to be courageous and we don't know whether we're able to do it, and God, it's a new opportunity, like, oh, it means socializing with new people, and oh, how's this gonna go, and like, oh my God. Separating that feeling from a feeling of this opportunity just isn't good for us, isn't good for our purpose, isn't like meant for me, like I just don't resonate and vibe with it, can be done through meeting your fear straight to the face and with compassion, and actually moving into it rather than brushing it under the rug, which is something a lot of adults also do, because they tell kids, stop crying, like everyone's looking at you. That's something I was told a lot as a kid, like, oh, everyone's looking at you. When we face those emotions, when we walk into what those emotions mean for us with compassion, figuring out like what they're trying to do, a lot of the time we'll just find that they're trying to protect us. Our anxiety and our fear is trying to stop us really from doing the thing that does expose us to being vulnerable, about possibly failing that driving test. You know, focus on exploring, at least exploring, and playing with the potential of learning to drive a car can bring us in form of our manifestation in our bigger like picture, our bigger point, which might be a freelance videographer that can like hop in the car and like film in lots of different locations. Like accessing that will creates a whole nother force entirely, bringing more importance to the little things in our day-to-day choices, such as like making that call about the job interview, or like asking our boss to reassess our roles so we could potentially get a pay rise, or the little things that little you is counting on you for, doing it for them at the very least. Because I think another thing, studies show that we're more likely to do something impactful for somebody else over ourselves. Things like photogazing separates ourselves away from what feels like almost another entity, because yes, that's us, we know that's us, obviously, but we've like shed so many shells since then, we've created so many shells since then. We're pretty much a different person. Our taste buds change every so often. We're constantly shedding skin, technically. The eyes, though, those are the same, and eyes speak a lot of truth. So mirror gazing has also really helped me in just sitting with my reflection a little bit and seeing what she has to say about what she feels like she needs in this lifetime that I've given her. Taking action in the place, in the areas, in the direction that we know is meant for us and right for us, but then allowing the softer side of ourselves to loosen a grip and let space for the universe to play her bit, to do some co-creation with God, fate, whatever you want to call her, a constant flow of opportunities and experiences, both good and bad. They're all here to tell us different things. The kind of like hard control, though never like white knuckle grip, that we need to partake in is almost all the actions and steps that's required and necessary in our place, in our space as a co-creator with something bigger than us, in the same way as it would be a responsibility when working with somebody at school or at work. Like, you play your part, they play theirs, and if they stop playing their part or you stop playing your part, the other person's almost not going to feel like respected. It's a two-way thing. If I started doing all the parts that I think I need to do, which includes the universe's job, trying to manifest something exactly how I think it should be manifested, you know, it's very egotistical to be like, you don't know better, universe, like I'm gonna do it, it's gonna happen this way, and like if you try and show me a different way, I don't resonate with that, that's not what I'm manifesting. Is basically saying to your like co-worker, co-creator up there, like, I know better than you do, I don't have faith that you're gonna do the work that you are required to do, so I'm just gonna do it myself. There's always balance in every form of like spiritual practice and belief out there. The feminine, the masculine, the hard, the soft, the internal, external, and chaos and order. Child magic helps charge that child chaos, which a lot of us lose as adults because we become so obsessed with order and structure and building something for ourselves and creating a CV and doing what we're told and ordered to do and what we're expected to do. But you'll soon find that all of the things that we're expected to do are for the benefit of somebody else, usually the government. The never-ending chase. We need to stop that. Kids don't have that in them, and people can't profit from you and make money from you if you're a happy person. Tricking us into thinking the next best thing is out there to reach. Mankind, in a general sense, has been obsessed with the idea of immortality. We desire something in which we already possess. Being in the moment, being present, kids are great with that. And that's why I find a lot of power in child magic. And I'd love to know your own thoughts. Please let me know your own thoughts because it's such an interesting topic. I'm sending loads of love from my house to yours. Subscribe to my channel to be notified every time I make videos like this one. As I mentioned, I'm a tarot reader and I also am posting my very own month-long ritual. If you want to join me, links are down there. And I love you guys. I'll speak to you very soon. Bye.